Welcome back to the 6 Yard Line podcast. I'm Noel. So we're going to talk Manchester United today. Wow. What are United doing? So, I was one of those people that's, very interested in the new ownership of Manchester United, curious at how it's going to look this transfer season. Because United historically over the last 5 years have been really awful at transfers. They just have got the wrong players, they've overpaid, they've taken too long to complete deals. And at the start of this transfer window, they got the Mateus Cunha deal, 62.5 million. I think is a good deal. They activated the release clause, and they got a deal done really quickly. And you kind of thought, okay, Jim Ratcliffe's got his people. He's got Jason Wilcox. Jason Wilcox is going to get this done, and they're going to bring in the people that Ruben Amorim has on his shopping list. And there's a big shopping list for United because they need lots of roles, they need lots of spots, they need to get rid of a lot of players, but they need to bring in a lot of players. So you would think there would be a sense of urgency like you've never seen before. You finished 15th last season. Like, that's the worst United team. I've been obviously watching the Premier League since its inception. I've never seen a United team that bad. And you would have thought that they would get out the gate fast. So what happens? Liverpool gets out the gate fast. Man City gets out the gate fast. Chelsea gets out the gate fast. They're signing players. People were mocking Arsenal for being slow and ponderous. Why City's signing players, Liverpool signing players. What do Arsenal do? They sign Zumabendi. They go and sign Gyökeres, who's on the United shortlist of strikers because United desperately needs a striker. They've added Mascara today. There's just they're looking to add Eze from Crystal Palace. And suddenly Arsenal are going, it's an arms race. You look at Newcastle, they got Anthony Elanga. They're going to try and get Nketiah from Leverkusen. And what are United doing? They're still trying to nickel and dime Brentford to get Mbeumo. That deal could get blown up if Forest doesn't sign Vissa, because Forest will just go in. They've got money. Obviously, they're going to have the Gibbs White's money eventually. They will have the money from Elanga. If they go and sign Vissa, Brentford's not going to want to sell Mbeumo as well. He might want to go to United, but they're not going to sell him unless United pays over the odds, which is what happened with the Antony deal with Ajax. United went to Ajax and said, hey, what do you want for Antony? They said, oh, this is what we want. United then, took their sweet old merry time with trying to get a deal done. Ajax sold a few other players. I think Kudus was one of those players that they ended up selling to West Ham, and some other players went to various teams around Europe. And they're like, no, we don't want to sell Antony anymore unless you offer us 80 million. United got desperate, and they signed Antony for 80 million. And what? And how did that work out? He ended up at Real Betis. He's now training somewhere else because they don't want him. They're trying to unload him. And this could be the same issue with Mbeumo if they don't get this deal done, because Brentford's not going to sit around and wait forever. So I think United's got to have a sense of urgency. And, if you can see from my shopping list up there, Ruben Amorim needs a lot of players, and he needs a lot of players now, and they need to get rid of some of those players. You obviously got Rashford, you've got Sancho, you've got Malacia, you've got the Antony we just mentioned as well. There's a lot of players on this United team that need to go somewhere else, and they need to be playing football, and United needs to free up that allocation of money to make this work, because they are really essentially in a rebuild, but they've not rebuilt anything. They are literally just in status quo from where they finished the season. They let some players leave, obviously like Lindelof, but they haven't really signed anybody other than Cunha. So where are they going to finish? And I think from one of the things I'm most curious about is how do United fans feel about the offseason so far? How do they feel? Obviously leave us a comment, because for us, I think, me and Sean, obviously not Man United fans. I've watched United for a very long time. I've watched the United teams. I was in Nottingham and watched them, absolutely batter Forest in the late 90s, and that team was just a machine. That United's long gone, and I was trying to do my early Premier League predictions the other day, and I had United anywhere from 10th to 15th again, because I just don't see how the players that they've got are going to be any better than they were last year. And I think if you had Cunha in there, I think you might score some more goals. But when I go back to looking at all the teams around them, or where they feel they should be in that top six, they're miles off all those top six teams, miles off them. And I look at Brighton, I look at Bournemouth, I look at Fulham, I look at Forest, I look at some of those teams that kind of want to get to that European spot run, kind of in that anywhere from 5 to 10. And I'm sure all those teams are going to start adding players really soon. And I don't know if United can then break the top 10. So I just don't see where it's going to come from. I don't see where the spark is going to come from. I don't see where the goals are going to come from. And I can't see them at this pace just signing more than 3 or 4 players when you need a goalkeeper, you need wing backs, you need central defenders. You kind of need a lot of spots on this team. And, obviously, like left back is somewhere, if you go wing back or left back, whichever way you want it. Luke Shaw's always injured. Harry Maguire's another year older. Central defenders, I think is a massive area of need, along with goals up front. I think Højlund is not the right type of striker United needs. I think in a different team, Højlund would be very good. I just don't think he'd be good in this United team. And, I think obviously Gyökeres is somebody that was linked with United, has ended up at Arsenal. And he has a big Ruben Amorim connection. So, yeah, I just, we want to hear from United fans, because at the end of the day, we're very curious about where you see this team finishing, because right now I don't see anything past 10th place for United. And I think that's, obviously not what United fans want to hear. And I think United fans obviously wanted to see some positivity. And, I go around and I look at X, I look at Twitter, I look at YouTube, and watch a lot of content from other creators and kind of see how the vibe is. And I think everybody has the same feeling around United, that this is this doom and gloom, because the ownership is a terrible model. The Glazers don't invest money into a club that they are paid nothing for. Jim Ratcliffe's come in and just pretty much cleaned house with everybody that makes a living wage at the club. And, again, the transfer window looks like the same as the last 5 years for United. And are they going to overpay at the end of the summer because they're desperate? Maybe. And maybe they just need to figure out how do they change their strategy. Because, again, like I say, it's an arms race in the Premier League this season. We're going to do a separate video just on just how good the top 5 teams that finished last season are already looking this season. So leave us comments. Let us know what you think. But at the end of the day, I think United are in for a very, very, very difficult season. And I just don't see anything past the top 10. But you never know. This is the Premier League. It's unpredictable. But, I also think that Ruben Amorim's probably going to be in the betting as one of the first managers fired this year, because ultimately, I think he's actually quite a really good coach. I just don't think they've supported him. They haven't backed him. They haven't given him anything other than Cunha. And his style of play requires certain players that can play in certain positions. And if you look at his Sporting team, the guy with the most assists was the wingback. So he's got a certain system. Everybody knows what he wants to do. Everyone knows how he wants to play. But if you don't give him the players to play that way, what's the point in having this manager here? You might as well go and get somebody else that can take the players that they've currently got and turn them into, an average mid-table team, because I just don't see them really developing that much. So, but let us know. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you all. Like and subscribe, and stay with us on the 6 Yard Line.